One of the things I really learned was you have to think about what can go wrong in terms of communication and then plan contingencies. Okay? Didn't understand the assignment, didn't get that email, don't have access to the course, et cetera, et cetera. Every semester there's a new situation that I'll write down and say, oh, that's a new one. Didn't have that situation before. Let me figure out how to deal with that. So you need to plan. This happens in in-person courses too, but it's particularly important in online courses. I thought students would read the syllabus. Wrong. What I have found is that your syllabus is a very important tool to you, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And as you know, the syllabus is the legal document of the university. It is the contract between you and the student. So what you say you're going to do in the syllabus, you're supposed to do. And when a student registers for the course, they accept the terms and conditions of that course. Okay? As some of you probably know, if there's ever an issue, they don't necessarily go to the course website, they go to the syllabus. So make sure that everything you have in your syllabus, you can hang your hat on as saying to your department chair, to your dean, to an administrator, here were the requirements, here were the due dates, here were the issues concerning, incomplete grades, what the policy is, et cetera, et cetera. And you need to keep pointing students back to those. And I'll show you how I do it. Well, because I was teaching online, okay, I was like, well, it's an online course. What could go wrong? I don't need to look at the course every day. Wrong. What I found is that and my courses are relatively small, okay? They're graduate courses, so they're capped at 20, and a lot of times they're smaller than that, okay? So I'm fortunate. I get to teach people that are in a relatively small group. I know many of you have large classes, and I think that's challenging. But what I found is that the expectation when you teach online in some students' mind is, hey, you're available 24/7. And it's like, no, I have a family, I have a life, I like to do things when I'm not working. Who teaches online right now? Do you ever get an email and then get a phone call less than an hour later saying, hey, did you get my email? There you go. So what I learned by that is, even if you go into your online component of your class, even for a short period every day, even 20 minutes, it's better than not going in for that 20 minutes because things pile up. And what I found is important is that you have a policy or a guideline in your syllabus that says, here's how I communicate. I return phone calls and emails within 24. Then that way, if there's ever an issue, you can point back to your policy and say, all right, you sent me an email 37 minutes ago. I haven't responded yet, okay? Because I tell you, I respond within 24 to 48 hours. Because we know with student complaints, sometimes it gets up to the dean level, and they're saying, well, I tried to communicate with Dr. Williams, and he's not returning my emails. And it's like, okay, I didn't return the email after 37 minutes, but I did within the policy that I stated. It's important to have that information in your syllabus in terms of how you communicate with people and what their it's a lot about managing expectations of your students in class. So what I learned is I need to go in online every day and check what's going on. Now, I always thought that, hey, it's an online course. We can communicate through email. That's the best way. It might be, and I emphasize might, but what I found, what I tend to do a lot more now, and this might get back to a function of numbers of students, sometimes, as we know, there are just communication topics that are not handled very well in email. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll respond to the email and I'll say, send me a telephone number and a time, a couple of times where I can reach you, and let's talk on the phone. And I found that 9.5 times out of 10, I can get more accomplished doing that than I can with email. Now, I don't do that all the time, but sometimes, as you know, if you go back and forth with students and you could just tell that it's not working towards a conclusion here, there's no end in sight, I just say, let's talk on the phone. And that is a technology. Telephone's a great device. Technology that pretty much everybody has. They know how to use it. No training's required. It usually works. So, how better for e-learning? The thing that I like to do that I borrowed from somebody at Towson University is a little thing that I call 3 before me. And what I mean by that is when I get questions, I used to always respond to questions like, when is the second assignment due, which is in the course site, in the syllabus. I used to answer that question. Well, now what I do is I say, you need to look. It's in the syllabus. So I tell them, you need to do 3 things for me. You look in the course site, in our case, Blackboard. You look in the syllabus, or you ask one of your student colleagues. If you can't find an answer, then I'd be happy. But don't ask me things that are clearly in the syllabus. So what I do is I keep pointing them back in the same direction. I don't answer their question. I don't say assignment 2 is due December 15th. I'll say it's in the syllabus. You need to check. And I just keep pushing them back there. Eventually, I emphasize most of them get that. Everybody does not. Okay? But that's what, so 3 before me. Check the course site, check the syllabus, check with your fellow classmates. Because when they do that, that sometimes can reinforce your learning environment where it's more of a collaborative thing, and then hopefully they start to support each other and help each other. And you'll find that there are some students in online courses and in-person courses as well that they just love to help other students. They're just like a helping sort of person, and they want to be of service. So utilize those people. If they can answer some factual questions, not interpretations of policy, for example, but factual questions, take advantage of those folks.